Says Smithy.
How are you, lads?
Good, mate. Good. I'm Chris.
I'm Rooster.
Smithy.
We're going to be stick with that for a little while.
Yeah. Nice. People don't know who they're talking
Welcome
to.
to the Modern Ancestral Man podcast.
Not the ancestral modern man.
No.
Hate that.
Maybe that's why he's got so many followers. Because
Ooh,
everyone's
yeah,
like,
maybe.
oh man,
Yeah.
type
Could be
us
that.
in,
Could be that.
go there. Yeah.
Let's go with that.
Yeah.
Big topic today, fellas.
Big topic.
Big topic.
Cholesterol.
It's been frying my noodle a bit, trying to just come up with something reasonably interesting to say about this.
Yeah.
We're not medical doctors or
Nah.
anything, so do your own
God, no.
research. But there's
Exactly.
a lot coming out now about cholesterol. And,
Three bums off the street with an opinion.
Yeah, that's it.
So form your own opinion.
Well, it's always funny, isn't it? You go to a party. Nah, probably not talking about it at a party, but you know, amongst your mates, what's your cholesterol like, boys? How are you with your cholesterol? Oh yeah, well my HDL is this and my LDL is that, and well, that's not actually your cholesterol, is it?
Yeah,
You know?
yeah, exactly. Yeah, for a start. Yep.
So we talk about how high is your cholesterol? Oh, it's 8.8.
Yep.
Yeah, that's pretty high.
Oh, you're gonna die.
Yeah, but it's not even cholesterol, is it? You're looking at different lipoprotein particles that, whatever it is, it's not cholesterol itself, is it? So,
It's a very nuanced area. I'll tell you guys a quick story. So I went to the doctor a while ago, and I'm 45, and she wanted to do a couple of checks. So one of the checks was cholesterol. And I've checked my cholesterol sort of periodically over the years myself, and I also have a job where we have a medical and it gets tested there. So I sort of knew what it was going to be roughly. And she wanted to retest it. So I thought, oh, fair enough, a free test. So I did my fast, went in, had my cholesterol and glucose done. Glucose was really good. And I get a call back. Here we go, I know what this is going to be about. Fucking cholesterol. So I thought, all right, here we go. So I went in there, and the lady also has a medical student with her. So kind of ganging up on me a little bit. I thought, oh, here we go. And it wasn't even that high. My cholesterol, my LDL, I'm going to say LDL cholesterol, my LDL-C, which you might get into, was, I think it was about 5. So not crazy, but not as low as they'd like it to be. And my triglycerides were very good, and my HDL cholesterol was very good. And she started giving me the talk, and I had to sort of cut her off. I said, look, there's no chance I'm going to go on medication for this, and we'll probably get into this a little bit later. And I said, is this the only reason that you called me in? And she said, oh yeah, I'm a bit worried because this is a bit high. And I said, oh well, I'm aging a bit now, and I would expect it to climb a little bit, and I have recently just come off a meat-based diet as well, so it's possible that would have pushed it up a little bit. But she goes, oh, we'll put it into a risk calculator for you. Or some stupid thing they put in their computer where they type in your little numbers.
All these computer models, mate. They think that's the be all and end all.
So she said, well, you've got a 4% risk now because of this. 4%, that's not bad. I said, if you're worried, send me for a coronary calcium scan. She said, oh, no, we couldn't do that. I said, well, that's probably the gold standard of seeing whether I've got any, any plaques in my arteries, is it? And she goes, oh yeah, well, do you have chest pain? I'm like, well, no, of course I don't have chest pain. She goes, you ever had a heart attack? I'm like, I haven't had a heart attack. And she made me feel like a real idiot. And I'm like, all right, you need a doctor's prescription for it, so I guess I'm not getting my calcium scan from her. But yeah, we parted ways. And,
yeah. So she obviously just realised during that conversation, Smithy, that you knew a lot more than she thought you did.
I think so, yeah, because
Yeah.
I think a lot of doctors who are very clever people probably have a very narrow view of cholesterol, probably don't get into the nuances of it, and I'm not claiming that I have more knowledge than them, but I'm probably coming at it from a different angle, and I don't think we're ever going to agree, because there's zero chance that I'm going onto a statement.
Mate, I had a similar experience. My
Talk about that later.
doctor referred to a previous blood test where my cholesterol was higher than he wanted.
Yeah.
And I tried to explain to him that I've been on a keto diet for a long time, and I eat a lot of eggs, I eat avocados, saturated fats, meat, that sort of stuff.
That's for fuel, fat for fuel.
Yeah. So reduced carbs, a lot of no processed foods. He didn't want to know about it. He just dismissed my keto sort of eating as like blasphemy. Like, what are you talking about, mate?
Yeah.
Like, how's that going to... You've got cholesterol, and he was dead keen on getting me on some medication.
Yeah.
And I just told him, I said, look, I'm not going on medication for this. I know I'm healthy.
Yeah.
I exercise every day. I'm fit for my age.
Yeah.
I eat well. I don't. And I was really pissed off at him.
Yeah.
And it just sort of reinforced to me that the mainstream medical system is all about just fixing you with pills.
They want to get you on a drug,
Yeah.
which you've got to take for the rest of your life,
Yeah.
and that's their one sort of funnel that they put you into to, I'm putting my hands in the air, inverted commas, fix you,
Yep.
even though it doesn't really fix you, which again we'll probably talk about later. And a lot of doctors won't treat you as their doctor. If you come in with sky high cholesterol and you say, oh, I'm not going to take it, they'll be like, I can't be your doctor.
Yeah.
So
Right.
they've got no other tricks up their
Yeah.
sleeve. That's their one trick ponies.
Yep.
That's really what it is. They don't want to talk about lifestyle really.
No.
You know, maybe some doctors do. I'm putting them all in, so generally speaking.
Yeah. They're your more holistic alternative sort of doctors.
Yeah.
But your mainstream doctor is just all about prescribing your pills. You know?
So even though, so if you look at where cholesterol comes from, it's made in your liver and some body cells. Your body makes 80% of the cholesterol
Yeah.
that you've got, right? So even if you change your diet, what your liver does is adjusts. So if you take more dietary cholesterol in, your body adjusts and makes less, and
Yeah.
vice versa.
Mhm.
If you take in less, it makes more.
Correct.
So even the food that you eat, cholesterol in red meat and those kind of eggs, whatever, you eat more of that, your body then makes less of it.
That's
So
a great point, mate.
It's crazy. It's crazy that even so it's
Well, did you guys know that every single cell in your body can make cholesterol? Every single cell.
yeah.
It can't make. Not all cells can make enough to sustain what they need, which is
Yeah.
why, like CJ said, the liver makes the majority of it, which then gets shuttled around your body. But if you don't have cholesterol, you are dead.
It's vital for life. It's in
vital for life.
over 30 trillion cells in your body.
Yeah.
Well,
No
last week,
cholesterol, no life.
No. Exactly.
yeah, and last week we talked about nootropics and brain health.
Yeah.
Cholesterol is vital for your brain
Yeah,
health.
Brain's
And-
made of fat.
Yeah,
Fat head.
like your neurotransmitters, your connectivity is all lined with myelin, which is a product of cholesterol.
Yep.
You start reducing your cholesterol, and all those myelin sheaths break down. You're heading down towards Alzheimer's, dementia, those
Yep.
sort of mental conditions.
All your hormones.
Breast milk.
Yes.
What's breast milk made of?
Yeah. Exactly.
Mostly cholesterol. It seems strange that it's such a bad thing if that's the first food we get. It's
Yeah.
pretty much cholesterol.
Yeah. It's amazing.
Yeah.
You know, of course, we want everything in balance to a certain extent, but it's definitely been vilified.
Mm.
Uh,
I think I've talked about it in the past, and I've used the analogy of it being, the firefighter or the arsonist.
yes.
It turns up in inflammation, but we might talk about insulin resistance and metabolic syndrome a little bit later,
Yeah.
cardiovascular disease, but it is often there in inflammation, but is it coming in to help that inflammation, or is it causing the inflammation? So there's a lot of old school thought about it's the one that's caused the inflammation. You have high cholesterol, it's
Yep.
causing inflammation, it's causing plaque in your arteries and blocking your arteries, and you have a heart attack or coronary vascular
Yeah.
disease.
It's the whole
Cardio.
correlation versus causation
Yeah.
argument.
Yeah.
A lot of the path I went down with this research was it all just pretty much highlighted that there is no link between cholesterol and heart disease. There is no actual scientific
No.
evidence to support a link between the two, and
O-
that's
only-
actually a fact.
Only the fact that when they have done autopsies on people that have died from heart attacks back in the day, they found in the plaque cholesterol. So I think that's how they came up with the theory that cholesterol was a problem.
So absolutely, yeah. If you've got plaque in your arteries, it absolutely has been cholesterol, which has then been consumed by a monocyte, which becomes a macrophage,
Yep.
which then becomes a foam cell, and it goes into your artery wall. So then the lumen, so the hole, the space where the blood flows, the size of that gets smaller because you've got this big plaque. But your body has to shuttle cholesterol around, wrapped up in lipoproteins. So LDL, low density lipoprotein.
Yeah,
so
so
it's circulating around your bloodstream because it needs to, because all the cells in your body need it, and it's an essential part. So it's always going to be in your blood.
Yeah,
And your blood is aqueous, so water based.
Yep.
Cholesterol is fat soluble.
Yep.
So that needs to have a boat essentially to carry it around to all those cells.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where you start with VLDL.
The LDL, yep.
Very low density. So that's carrying essentially cholesterol, triglycerides around your body. As it delivers them to your cells in the body, it gets lower and lower and lower.
Yep.
Comes back to the heart and then, or liver, and does the same thing again.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
So one point that I read was heart disease is an inflammatory process caused by hyperglycemia, hyperinsulinemia,
Yep.
insulin resistance, and the oxidation and metabolization of sugars, alcohol, and particularly fructose, through carbs and sugars.
Mhm.
So that's why a lot of diabetics have more propensity for heart disease. So
Before you go on,
Mhm.
there's a really good quote that I saw from Dr. Robert Kraft. So he was kind of big on this back in the 70s.
Even Kraft cheese.
I don't know. The owner of the New England Patriots. No, but he said, let me get this quote. It was, those with cardiovascular disease not diagnosed with diabetes are just simply undiagnosed. So
Yeah.
any cardiovascular disease is a diabetic condition.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Sorry,
Okay.
carry on.
Yeah, well, that's pretty much sums up
Yeah.
those points there.
Yeah.
And there's no mention of cholesterol contributing to that inflammatory process of the
Yes,
heart.
that's right.
No,
And
it's
it
just
comes
present, like you said. Like, is it the arsonist or the firefighter?
Yeah.
It has to be present. Of course, it is contained within those
Yeah.
atherosclerotic plaques, which they find in the cell walls.
Yeah.
But it's not the cause.
And is it coming in to help those or clear out those macrophages that you were talking about before?
Yeah.
Which is the inflammation, and it's maybe it's a scar on your artery, and it comes in to
Mhm.
patch up that scar and makes that it closes the lumen, so there's less blood flow.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it is there.
Like, if
It's
you
not
have extremely high levels of LDL cholesterol, they cannot form a foam cell, which becomes the plaque, in the absence of inflammation. They can't.
Correct. Yeah. Yeah.
So that alone shows that it's not the whole, box and dice. LDL's going to kill you.
Yeah.
It's more to do with your, what Rooster said, your metabolic health. So your insulin resistance, your glucose levels, and your level of inflammation, and all your other lifestyle factors. The LDL really is just, it's there,
Yeah.
but it's
Yeah.
not. That's not the cause.
No.
It does get combined with other things through a process,
Yeah.
but you can't exclude cholesterol, like we said, or not cholesterol, but LDL.
Yeah,
So has cholesterol become... Sorry, mate, you go.
Oh, I just had another. There's another guy called Thomas Dayspring, who's he was probably an early proponent of cholesterol as no issue. So he said, in reality, heart attacks are due to insulin resistance, and LDL is a near worthless predictor for heart disease.
Yeah.
So that's backing up what you were just saying
I'm
there.
going to hit you guys with a study now.
Oh yeah,
This is a big study. This was a study that looked, so it was a systematic review. So a systematic review is a study that looks at other studies. So it looked at 19 large studies of elderly people. In total, there's 68,000 participants, so quite big. The study's called Lack of an Association or an Inverse Association between LDL cholesterol and Mortality in the Elderly. What it found is, in 16 of these 19 studies, so the vast majority, the people with the highest levels of LDL-C live the longest. So,
Yep.
that's quite a big study.
People above
That's
60
huge.
years of age live longer with higher LDL cholesterol.
Higher.
That's what that report was saying.
Yes.
Yep.
Yep. 68,000 participants.
Yep.
The vast majority of those studies.
Ramsden et al.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
and why would it go up as you age? To protect your brain.
Exactly. Yeah.
Brain. We talk about it in our nootropics
Mhm.
episode, but yeah, it's neuroprotective. It's and the big thing, it's part of your immune system.
Yeah.
So the reason why it goes up is to protect your brain as you get older, because
Yep.
that happens, the degeneration of your brain. So it's all these things kind of make sense when you look into them. You go, okay, well, what we've been told is not quite right.
Definitely not.
And then you look into it further, and well, why would, and 2 million years of evolution, why would it do that? Why would it go up as you get age? Well, why would it go up as you get older?
Yeah.
Well, to protect you, so
Protect
you're
you.
better as you cognitively as you age.
Yep.
It's
The big question is, why is the medical profession trying to reverse what our bodies naturally do?
I think we know.
Steroids are one of the most lucrative
Mate, let's get onto that.
drugs in the history
Let's
of
get
man.
that.
Before the COVID vaccine, they were the most
Yep.
lucrative.
Yeah.
What other findings did you find in that report, mate?
Well, mate, if you look at the graph of living the longest as well, the most dangerous in ageing, the group with the highest mortality rate were the ones with the lowest LDLC.
Wow.
So,
Yep.
I mean, that's quite damning.
Well, that's inverse of what we've been told for
Inverse.
50 years.
Yeah, it's
Since probably World War II, things have changed. You know, maybe
Yeah.
the 60s.
definitely the 50s. There was an explosion of paranoia. I think was it Eisenhower or one of the US presidents had a heart attack?
Yeah. And then there was the Ansel Keys
Ike?
research.
Mate.
Oh yeah, Ansel. Yeah.
Yeah.
But just without stealing your thunder there, Smithy, that same report stated that those with increased LDL cholesterol had lower rates of infection and lower rates of cancers.
Yeah.
And the ones with low cholesterol levels had increased incidences of depression and lower rates of LDL cholesterol with depression results in a higher rate of suicide.
Yeah.
So those two combinations can cause a higher rate of suicide in people.
Yeah.
Amazing.
It's pretty damning, isn't it?
So that Ansel Keys thing, right, you just touched on there, are we talking about cholesterol being blasphemy like fat was in the 80s? So remember back in the 80s, fat was demonised, everything was all low fat, they pumped the sugar up, the sugar industry was behind that, and that's no conspiracy, they were behind that, and that's now a fact.
Yep.
But I was listening to this thing, right, going back to this 2015, the Journal of American Medical Association published a report showing internal documents from the Sugar Research Foundation. And they were talking about evidence of how sugar caused heart disease, and this has gone far back as the 40s and 50s. So the American Medical Association published a report showing that the Sugar Research Foundation declared that sugar caused heart disease. In these documents, they also listed the payoff bribes of 3 Harvard professors to exonerate sugar and label cholesterol as the cause of heart disease. So this is going back to the 40s and 50s, which you just mentioned then. Interestingly enough, one of those Harvard professors, Professor Mark, was then promoted to the head of the FDA. So this is a guy from the Sugar Research Foundation. And he then helped formulate, in 1979, the dietary recommendations for America. And that was to promote the larger intake of carbs and sugars and less saturated fats and cholesterol.
Did it say how much they were paid off?
It didn't.
It was a minimal amount.
Really?
Yeah, not much in today's standards.
But we're talking back in the 1950s, yeah? So
yeah, but
comparison.
That's what they say is that minimal payoff for those people has changed the whole landscape of
for
health,
bugger all money.
For minimal money.
Because what you said there, mate, changing the landscape, as a result of that, 30% reduction in Americans, a 30% reduction in fat and cholesterol intake in their diets, a 33% reduction in red meat. So this is since this 1950 thing.
And increase in sugar,
fruits,
seed oils.
And seed oils, nuts and grains, and processed carbs.
Yeah. And
the result, increase in heart disease tripled.
Yeah.
That's a stat.
Yeah.
And along with those is diabetes, obesity, Alzheimer's, and Parkinson's have all skyrocketed since that period.
Yeah.
Crazy. You don't have to be fucking Einstein to put these things together, do you?
It's not a conspiracy. It's almost fact.
It's
fact.
It's fact. These things happen, and these are documented now.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys looked into that Framingham study. It's a 30-year study that went into the study of cardiology. They reckon for cardiologists, it's a go-to study. Results showed by dropping total cholesterol by 1 milligram per deciliter, you increase coronary and total mortality by 11%. So 1 milligram per deciliter. If you drop your cholesterol by that much, you increase your mortality and coronary mortality by 11%. But 2 years later, the American Heart Association fraudulently claimed, so they changed these figures to suit themselves. They claimed that 1% decrease in total cholesterol equaled a 2% increase in heart disease risk. So totally fraudulently manipulated the figures to make it a lot less. A 1% decrease in your total cholesterol, a 2% increase in your death, whereas it's actually 11%. Crazy.
Yeah.
And the question that I asked myself, and then you've got this Seven Nations study, Ansel Keys. I'll just go on one more little rant here. So this Seven Nations studies, right, declared that in 7 nations, as you increased cholesterol, you also saw an increase in heart disease. Correlation, not causation. So you can argue that point.
But that was fraud. All his stuff was fraudulent anyway.
Man, how's this? So he had data for 23 countries to prove to argue, and he cherry picked 7 nations that he used. So across the board, there isn't even any correlation whatsoever. So this 7 nations report from Ansel Keys, and in actual fact, he was paid by the sugar industry as well. This Ansel Keys to do this 7 nations study. And the whole question to me was just like, fucking why? Why
follow the money?
Follow the money. Sugar industry, eh?
Sugar industry, and then link it in with the pharmaceutical industry.
Crazy.
That's crazy.
140,000 heart attack patients in the USA, more than half had low LDL cholesterol.
So if it's not cholesterol causing heart disease, what is it?
Well, can I throw a spanner in the works?
Well, let's go.
I did find a little nuance. So I found myself, because I've researched this a bit, and I started thinking, why are almost all doctors on board? Because I don't believe doctors are bad people. I think they operate in a difficult system which is dominated by the pharmaceutical industry, but I think by and large the majority of people who become doctors want to help people.
But also by people as well, right? So if you go into the doctor, I've got pain. We've probably all watched Painkiller and Dope Sick and those ones, and I want to get better straight away. I'm going to go in, I'm going to take that pill. I've got 7 minutes with the doctor. Give me that pill, I'll feel better. So it's on us as well. The whole system is rigged.
But I went down the rabbit hole a bit because I'm sitting here and I'm wondering, like, why is this such a dogmatic, just all-encompassing view? Just don't eat any meat, cholesterol's bad, it's going to kill you. So there are some nuances to it, which I found, which I believe in, which is to do with cholesterol particle size, LDL particle size. So not cholesterol, but low density lipoprotein particle size. So you touched on it before, CJ. So there's sort of 5 levels of particle size. So the first one is called a chylomicron. So as soon as you eat a meal, you get these giant, big, fatty chylomicrons, which will, for a very brief period, circulate around in your blood. But by the time you fasted, they're non-existent, so you don't see them in a test, right?
And they're in your gut.
They're in your gut. So then, but after that, you spoke about it, VLDLs, so very low density lipoproteins. So they're quite big, they're low density. VLDLs become IDLs, intermediate density lipoproteins.
As they travel around the body.
They're essentially like a cargo ship, you spoke about it. So they're a lipoprotein so that they can go in your blood because fat and water don't mix. So they go in this lipoprotein carrier. Think of it like a cargo truck or a ship. They float around. They deliver these free fatty acids or cholesterols to various parts of the body as they need it. Triglycerides, whatever. As they offload their cargo, obviously they're not as... they basically become more dense. So
smaller,
they go from
smaller as they go.
Smaller and smaller, exactly.
So
the density sort of increases because they're not as big and...
Yes.
So then they become intermediate density lipoproteins. They go down to low density lipoproteins, and then even lower than that is HDL, which is a whole other section. We'll talk about that later. But in the low density lipoprotein carrier, there's different subdivisions of density again. And the most dense, smallest particle of LDL is called a small dense LDL. So you've got large, buoyant, small, dense, and then everything in between. These small, dense LDLs do seem to be a big problem. And not everyone carries a large percentage of them, but some people do seem to. But when you go and get your normal LDL, so when you go to the doctor and you do a blood test and they're testing your cholesterol, you'll usually get LDL, you'll get HDL, and you'll get triglycerides. But within LDL, they don't give you any breakdown of the particle size of LDL. So you could have a lot of small, dense LDLs, or you could have almost none. It seems to me, and I don't know if you guys went down this rabbit hole or if you looked into it, but if you do have a large proportion of small, dense LDLs, if you did what's called a lipid subfraction test, where they look at the makeup of your LDL cholesterol, small, dense ones do seem to be really atherogenic, which means make plaques in your arteries and cause heart disease, along with the other factors that we spoke about. So I think that's where...
Is that because they're getting caught in the artery and then it's causing the inflammation, and that inflammation process is coming through?
It's something to do with the fact that they're so small that they can infiltrate the lumen wall more, and therefore they're much more likely to cause a foam cell, which is like what we spoke about. I'm sure it's much more complicated than that, but that's basically what I came across.
That's a good simplification for us.
So I found myself asking myself, how do I know? So we all just said, our LDL-C, our LDL cholesterol volume is a little bit high, right? So I found myself wondering, I wonder if I have many small, dense LDLs. So there's two ways you can find out. One's an expensive way and one's a cheap way. So you can get what's called a lipid subfraction test. So it's like going to get your cholesterol tested, except it'll cost you a few $100. I think around $200 and something if you order it yourself. Your doctor won't order it for you, but if you want to go and order it off iMedical or iScreen or one of those carriers, and it'll give you a report and it'll tell you essentially what your breakdown of your LDL-C is, and really whether you have many small, dense LDLs. And that's a really good way to find out, but you've got to spend a lot of money. But there's a cheaper way, which is that if you look at your normal blood test, so you look at your triglycerides, your LDL and your HDL, they're the three values that you get. If your triglycerides in Australia are not above 0.8 millimoles, so if they're not higher than 0.8, then you've only got a 4.2% chance of having small, dense LDLs. And if your triglycerides are not above 5 millimoles, this is an Australian range, you've got almost 0% chance of having small, dense
0.5,
LDL.
did you say?
0.5.
0.5.
Yep.
So the lower the better, that's what you're saying?
The lower the better. Also,
triglycerides. Which triglyceride is a fat storage molecule, essentially taking it around your body to,
So it's good for times of fasting. It's an energy store. So if you're fasted, triglyceride is a glycerol molecule with 3 fatty acids attached to it. It'll just shuttle it around and give you energy. It'll break it down, through your fat burning mechanisms. But the other one is if you have a HDL cholesterol of above 1.3, again in the Australian reference range, you've got a very low chance of having small, dense LDLs. I know this is real nerdy, I'm nearly done.
No. It's
I'm writing it
interesting,
down.
man.
And if your triglyceride to HDL ratio is less than 0.9, and this is all in millimoles per litre because we're in Australia, so that's the range we use. Again, you're very, very low chance of having the really atherogenic bad version of small, dense LDLs.
So when you started talking about those statistics there, mate, those facts, you started off by saying that you believe that all doctors are genuinely concerned about your health and want to do the right thing. Does that information that you just portrayed there, is that something that you think doctors know about and are therefore wanting to address? That's why they might. So do you think the majority of doctors would have a clue about this, the SD-LDL component of a reading?
No, I don't believe so. I think some really good doctors who are interested in it would, and probably definitely like cardiologists and stuff would be all over it. This is relatively newer stuff. Like I think a lot of these studies have only come out in the last sort of 5 or more years that this has really started to get looked into, like particle size. I think before that, it's just been the big con. It's like, that guy had high cholesterol, bang, heart attack, dead.
So what was that? Can you just give me that that reading again of the LDL? Which would be unacceptable for a doctor? and then how much.
Oh, do you mean like what their reference range is when you just go to the doctor?
Yeah, so that's what I gathered from that information that you said there. So if they're looking at a reference range of LDL,
Yeah.
are they assuming then that you've got a high level of SDLDL?
Oh, I don't know what their thought process is in terms of that. I think they honestly just look at the Heart Foundation reference range and they say, oh yeah, LDL's above
Right.
whatever. So, because I know they look at HDL LDL ratio, and I think some of them look at triglyceride HDL ratio.
Yep.
Yes.
That'd be
determine
it.
your
That'd be
primary
it,
risk,
hey?
but that's it.
Yep.
I don't think their rationale is, because I'm worried about small dense LDLs. But if you do go down the rabbit hole and you look at these small dense LDLs, these do seem to be a problem.
Right.
So, yeah, if you're worried about it, you can either get the lipid subfraction test, the expensive one, that will give you an absolute breakdown of what your particle size is.
Yep.
Or you can do those simple sums. So essentially, triglycerides less than 0.8, triglyceride HDL ratio less than 0.9, and HDL's above 1.3.
Right.
If you can rule out those things, I think who cares what your LDL is?
Yeah.
That's my honest opinion. Not a doctor. Don't take it as medical advice.
Yeah.
But
So
that
if
seems
someone's
be what
listening to
really
this
does.
and then they get concerned about, oh shit, if I need to be concerned about my SLDL, SLD, SDLDL, right?
Yeah.
Is this correct in me? Because I sort of had a look at that SDLDL, and that's the metabolites of alcohol and fructose.
Yep.
Is that what? Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yep.
I was new to this SLDL thing as well, and
Yep.
that's what I sort of learned they are of. So if you avoided your alcohol intake and avoided your sugars with fructose,
Yep.
your concern for SDLDLs
Yep.
would be less. Yeah.
100%.
Yep.
There's-
Even though your LDL reading might still be high.
Yep.
You can sort of take a lifestyle change by reducing alcohol, reducing fructose intake
100%.
to avoid that SLDL
Yeah.
impact.
That's my opinion.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's one other curveball.
Yeah.
Just 2 seconds I'll touch on it, then I'm going to
Yeah,
shut
yeah.
up for
No, no.
ages.
That's good. Good.
There's a test called lipoprotein little a, which you can get. I've done it. It's essentially checking for a genetic susceptibility to atherosclerosis. So it's a one-time test. You do it once in your life. It's super cheap, and you test for lipoprotein little a, and it'll give you a range. So I think the range is something like 30 to 300 or something like that. You want it to be as low as possible. Just do it one time in your life because it doesn't really change. It's more just what you've inherited from your ancestry.
Mm-hmm.
If your lipoprotein little a, if that's really high, then you are extremely susceptible to atherosclerosis, and you should probably take a lot more notice of what your dietary
So that test, mate,
limits are.
is lipo,
Lipoprotein, LIPO protein,
yeah.
and then afterwards it's got a little lowercase a.
Right. Is there a dash, like a little dash
I
A,
don't think it's got
or
a dash.
just
I think it's just
an A straight after
lipoprotein
protein?
A. Yep,
It's a little A, not a big A.
little a. Yep.
Okay.
I ordered it because I just wanted to have peace of mind, and mine was super low. It was like 10. So I was like, oh, it's just luck.
Yep.
It doesn't have to do with like how much Maccas you eat, or how much you drink, or how many
It's a
donuts
genetic
you
test.
smoke in it. It's not a genetic test. It's a blood test, but it's essentially showing you, have you won the lottery or are you really unlucky?
Yeah,
Just
right.
get a number.
What's the cost of that test?
It's fuck all. It was like $20 or something.
Yeah, right.
Yep.
Mm.
I think the European Heart Association actually recommends it as a test you should do once in your life,
Yeah.
or like some pretty reputable thing, but you don't really hear about it too much in Australia. Like I don't know that many doctors that are like, we should test your lipoprotein little a because I'm worried about your long-term health.
So would that be similar to a coronary calcium score test?
No, not at all. So coronary calcium score is
No, but I mean, sorry, in the way that you only need one test of it, and that'll just tell you.
No, that's
you definitely only need one lipoprotein little a because it won't really change.
Right.
Coronary calcium could change. You
change.
could do one when you're 20, could
Yes.
look all good, then
Yep.
do one when you're 60 and you could be
Gotcha.
could
Yeah.
have some plaque in there, so
Yeah.
sort of a different thing, I guess. But
Yeah.
so yeah, I reckon, in my opinion, that I'm not worried. I couldn't give two shits about LDL. I don't think it's the villain.
Yep.
I think it's an essential thing that is associated with good health. But if I did a test and I thought my small dense LDL was high, or I had high lipoprotein A, I would probably be more concerned.
And mate, can you just repeat the name of that test to be able to find your SDL, LDL?
Oh, so it's called a lipid subfraction test.
Lipid subfraction test.
Yep. You can order it off iMedical or iScreen, I'm pretty sure, which are both Australian websites, and I'm sure there are others that do it as well.
Yeah, right.
I'm sure your doctor could order it for you, but
Yeah.
literally it costs a few $100. So I don't think they would.
Yeah, right.
Most doctors would say, well, what am I going to do with the information? That's
Yeah.
probably fair.
That's interesting, man. So someone is really, really concerned about their cholesterol.
Yeah,
That's going to be a more accurate indication of a demon
yeah,
in your blood
Yeah.
than LDL or HDL
yeah.
or
It is.
triglycerides.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, right.
That's what I
Interesting.
came up with, but
Yeah.
I'm going to not talk now for a while. You guys can.
No, I'll check that out, mate. I just made a note of that lipid subfraction test. I'm going to have a look at it.
Yeah, I reckon it's worth it.
Yeah.
Especially if you're going to try and get your doctor to do it for you.
Yeah. Well, you know, like we've all got older family members,
Yeah.
particularly those older people that are sort of getting diagnosed as high cholesterol and getting pushed onto statins.
Yeah.
It'd be worth their while getting a lipid subfraction test
100%.
Wouldn't it?
Yeah.
to
I
really
think it would.
find what the devil in the detail.
Yeah. I reckon. And then push your doctor. Like, if they're
Yeah.
pushing you to try and do something you don't want to do, get them to give you a coronary calcium scan. If
Yeah.
if you're super worried and they're trying to put the fear of God into you, like, have any of you guys had a...
I have.
Yep.
I had the same as you guys. I went in and your cholesterol's way too high. Yeah, lipid. And I said, well, I gave my doctor pretty much this information.
Yep.
And I said, look, if you send me for a coronary calcium score and it comes back with any number, I'll go on your... I've talked about this on the podcast before,
Yep.
but I'll go on your statin drugs. I knew it was probably going to be clear.
Yep.
And I went in and it was clear and I didn't hear back from them.
No.
So they, to her credit, she said, yeah, okay, go have the test.
Yeah,
I
cool.
think it was only, from memory, it was only $150 something, and
Yeah.
went in, it's not much, and they do a bit of a scan and
Yep.
out you come. And,
Was that 150 out of pocket for you, or just 150 and it was all covered?
good, yeah, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think in America, you can order them without a doctor's prescription for like 99 American bucks.
Is that right?
I wish you could do that over here, because I
Yeah.
probably do one every 10 years or so, just to
Yeah, absolutely.
see how
It's
things
probably,
go, but-
it's probably about time. It's probably 5 or 6 years ago I went now, so
Yeah.
it's probably good to go and get it.
Yeah,
I guess it's good getting a baseline of,
I'm
especially,
confident you would be fine.
yeah. Well, I guess, we talk about it, well, if cholesterol's not the root cause of cardiovascular disease, what is? That's what I was sort of getting at before when I asked you, Smithy, is, well, a lot of the experts are saying it's insulin resistance.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
And metabolic syndrome,
100%.
and whether those are related. It's you're getting metabolic syndrome because of insulin resistance, or vice versa. It's probably more of a. So I mean, it's good. These tests are great. You can go and quantify it, but there's some things you can do. So metabolic syndrome, you're looking at sort of gout, some cancers, stroke, type 2 diabetes, even Alzheimer's, those kind of things.
Hypertension, I think, is in there as well.
Hypertension, yeah. And then sort of things that cause or can contribute to that are, we've talked about triglycerides, but having high blood triglycerides, low HDL.
Yep.
So we talk about that ratio being, that's out of whack, it's the wrong way around. So if your waist is large, you've got a large waist measurement, increased blood pressure, increased blood sugar. And I don't know if that's based, whether that comes before insulin resistance. So insulin resistance is where insulin is one of the master hormones made by the pancreas. So it's there to regulate your blood glucose or blood sugar, essentially. So food comes in the form of carbohydrates or whatever it might be. Insulin is released from the pancreas to then bring that number back down, either store the excess or use it as energy. So there's too much sugar constantly bombarding your bloodstream, increases your insulin, and then essentially that mechanism doesn't really work over time if you keep damaging it. So then that leads to sort of pre-diabetes, diabetes. They reckon 52% of people in America have pre-diabetes. And then when you look at, say, I talked about Robert Kraft, he's pretty much the one that came up with that glucose test. So you take
Glucose tolerance test.
glucose tolerance test, you take the 75 grams of glucose or whatever it is, and then you watch how your body reacts, how the insulin comes in, levels it back out, and if that spikes up or hangs around over time, then it's possible that you have diabetes.
Yeah.
So there's half of Americans have close to that, and then they reckon if they did that test, it would be more like 60 to 65% based on
And then
some of the other research.
I think I've definitely heard some people talk about if they included your insulin number in that, because they look at your glucose number, like how quickly your glucose returns to baseline. If they then looked at the amount of insulin that your body had to release to get that effect, which is probably an even earlier marker of that, they might find there's even a higher number of people who are definitely on that slippery slope, like maybe not diabetic because they don't use that as their clinical marker, but certainly it's a red flag. It's like, okay, you can get back to baseline, but your body is having to release a ton of insulin, which means that your cells, the cell receptors, are getting less sensitive to insulin. Insulin insensitive.
So that's what this Kraft fellow said, was that you should be looking at insulin, like we talked about there. So
Like,
we're looking at blood glucose, but they should be looking at insulin, and then there'd be more people that are diabetic.
I reckon it's a travesty that you go to the doctor and they say, oh, let's see how are we going. Fast, and we'll do fasting glucose. Well, yeah, fine, but look at fasting insulin as well, and then see how much insulin your body is needing to keep that glucose at that level. Like, it's such a cheap test to chuck on. You're already fasted anyway. Like, have a look at it, and then you're getting a much greater picture of how your body is controlling your glucose level. But it doesn't seem to be something that happens too much.
So the one thing, how do you change insulin resistance? It's fairly easy, really, and controversial, but type 2 diabetes can probably be reversed.
Oh, it definitely can. I would agree with that. I mean,
if you were going to do, say, you get rid of excess fructose and excess carbs, you can then reset that insulin spike. If you're getting suboptimal omega-3, omega-6, suboptimal omega-3, too much omega-6, which comes from seed oils. So we've talked about that a few times. I think we got a strike on YouTube for talking about seed oils.
Yeah, they get cranky about that.
I know.
No doubt we'll get a strike on this one as well.
Probably.
Most definitely.
The other one is how do we change that insulin resistance? Suboptimal vitamin D.
Yes.
Not getting enough sun, vitamin K, and not enough magnesium.
These are all sounding like ancestral things. Eat well.
Sleep.
Get some sun.
Not getting enough sleep.
So
we talked about cortisol in that last episode. If we're not getting enough sleep, cortisol is high, and it helps store that fat. So you're eating too much.
Spikes your blood sugar.
It spikes your blood sugar.
It's a glucocorticoid, releases glucose massively.
So if we're having too much,
ancestral.
Stress control. If we're having too much glucose, the body stores it as fat, and that's why you get that waist, that larger waist measurement. So easy to change it, really. And one thing that is not talked about, and doctors aren't mentioning really. How much fructose are you having?
Exactly.
How much carbohydrates are you having?
It's
500 grams a day. Oh, geez, that's probably a bit too much. Let's maybe reduce it to 150 because that's manageable. 150, you could do 150 grams of carbohydrates a day, and that's still even having a couple of pieces of fruit and maybe a bit of toast. You don't have to fully eliminate it, but maybe you reduce it and look what happens.
Well, the funny thing about people that go on keto diets is, if you follow a keto diet for long enough, you will probably fail a glucose tolerance test. Because your body's just not used to coping with large boluses of glucose. It's like a lot of people who have been in ketosis on a keto diet for a few years, most of them will fail the glucose tolerance test. So you go to your doctor, they'll be like, mate, you're diabetic.
Is that right?
You're not. Your body is just using fats for fuel.
That's what they would assume.
Yeah, exactly right.
Wow.
So
I think people are coming around on being ketogenic all the time, every time. I think there is a possibility that there is a place for more glucose for those people.
I agree with that.
As in, natural sources, honey, fruit.
Correct.
Not your ultra processed foods, but something that looks more like ancestral living.
And that's like a fruit or a vegetable or some honey.
Yeah.
Or something like that's probably okay.
Berries, those kind of things. Yeah.
Go and pound some high energy fructose corn
Just get a
syrup.
Gatorade into you.
Basically just avoid anything. Like you can combine so many different diet plans: keto, carnivore,
whatever.
Mediterranean, paleo, whatever. Combine them all because they're all inclusive of natural foods.
Yeah.
Just eliminate packaged foods. Anything
don't-
that comes out of a packet or with more than 3 to 5 ingredients on it, fuck it off.
Yeah.
And you're laughing.
That's the only thing, isn't it? Just don't eat processed food.
Exactly.
Just like one takeaway for what to eat.
Yeah.
We're fixing
food.
problems here.
Yeah,
We're fixing the
solving
world.
the world, yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
But you're right. Get rid of anything processed. If you had to look at if you eliminate anything with seed oils in it and gluten in it or wheat, you're probably going to be all right.
Yeah. If you look at a label, a package, a food, information label on an item, and it's got all these ingredients on it, like I'm looking at these now, and I just put it straight down. I just can't even fathom consuming that or putting that in my body.
Yeah.
I can't even read half of the shit.
Yeah. Anything chemically sounding.
Nah.
Every now and then you find something that's gold that you get really impressed by, but
Yeah.
rarely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If it's on a shopping shelf, it's got to have additives to it
Yes.
to keep it edible for a long time.
I found these little bars from Aldi, just going off on a big tangent here.
Mm.
I think they're called paleo bars or something like that. They're essentially just nuts, dates, cacao, and olive oil, I think, or something like that.
Right.
And that's the only thing that's in them.
Mm.
I love them.
Yeah,
right.
There you
Got a
go.
lot of carbs, but I'm not carb phobic.
Yeah.
Enjoy a carb or two.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
They're
Just,
pretty good though.
Alfie just talked about.
Just a real handy little. Well, I think carbohydrates do have their place.
Well, absolutely. And if you're active and you're out and about,
Yeah.
you need them, really.
Yeah, I reckon. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know what that LDL content is, but I'm not too worried about that.
No,
Getting back on point.
it's hard to know.
I don't know.
But there's just for anyone that listens to Rogan, and 3/4 of the world probably do.
Yeah.
Episode 2060 was had Gary Brecker on it, or Gary Brecker. And he's a guy. He's not a doctor, although I think he's got a doctorate in human biology, but he's not a practicing doctor. But within his organisation, he has practicing doctors to consult with patients. Mate, have a listen to this guy. This guy is just a wealth of knowledge. The whole basis around the podcast is the process of methylation and how that can be promoted to alleviate a lot of health issues. And he talks a lot about some supplements that have helped. And their main case study is Dana White, the president of the UFC.
Yeah.
Because apparently he was going down a real bad health track there for a while.
Yeah.
But he had a lot going on. He was very like 4 hours of sleep, ultra processed foods, heaps of stress. Running the UFC, he was very unwell.
Yeah,
but he was a good test case because he fixed him up pretty good.
They reckon this guy, Gary Brecker, has turned Dana White around.
Yeah.
So can I just play this 20-second grab? It's on public platforms or whatever, so it's not. It's Dana White talking as a result of this. So I'll just play it for you.
That might be loud there. Yeah.
Never talk to a doctor about my general health ever again. If I break my arm, I'm going to go see a doctor. If I need surgery, I'm going to go see a doctor. My general health, never again. None of them know what they're talking about. They're all full of shit. All they know is to put you on pills and put you on medicine. That's all they know.
Fucking A, man.
Quick
I
little
agree with that
grab.
100%. Emergency medicine is amazing.
Yeah.
Surgery is amazing.
Yeah.
The rest of it, fucking take it or leave it.
Yeah.
All of it.
Yeah.
That
was an interesting. This guy, his
Legend.
life has been saved. Really,
Yeah.
like his longevity has been increased by this guy's health.
But Dana White had probably good reason to say that because for 15 years he'd been going to a doctor and all they've been doing is giving him pills and he'd been getting worse and worse.
Yeah.
And he's like at
Getting
wit's end going,
bloated.
what the fuck do I do?
I can't sleep. Have some sleeping pills.
Yeah.
I've got no energy. Have some
I'm
stimulants.
too fat.
Yeah,
Give
too
me
fat.
this. Yeah.
You guys heard about that new fat loss pill? Going off on another tangent here. That was really sweeping the world by storm for a while. It was really making people.
Oh, is that the
Olympia
diabetic
or something?
The diabetic one?
What was it called?
It's
No, it was like a weight loss pill.
Yeah. Ozempha.
Yeah.
OZE.
Ozempic or something?
Yeah. P.
Something like that. People were losing their mind about the results. Then they worked out that a lot of the weight that people were losing was like bone, mineral density, and muscle.
Shit. Yeah.
They're working out that like fucking some crazy amount of the weight that you're losing was your bone and your muscle. Oh shit!
Wow.
Yeah, just fucking released on the Ozempic or something.
Ozempic. Yeah.
We're talking about drugs. This statins concept. We might as well talk about statins. It blows me away. It's fucking.
Yeah.
You, like you mentioned earlier, Jones, humans are at a time of their life cycle where their brain is still producing cholesterol, or their body's producing cholesterol for brain health and that sort of thing. And we're then introducing a drug to reduce that cholesterol production, which therefore is going to have effects on the brain. It also, therefore, the cholesterol is obviously, as we mentioned before, is responsible for our hormone production. Mm-hmm. So in men particularly, on statins, you're going to see a massive drop in testosterone.
Yeah.
So we're sort of wondering why...
Loss of sexual function, loss of libido.
Yeah. And all these symptoms are put down to just getting old. It's just a matter of getting old. Like, fuck that. If you can't see the relationship between a drug like this, what it's doing, and the side effects of it, man, there's a stat here. People with previous heart issues on long-term statins to decrease their cholesterol will increase their life expectancy by 5 days.
5 days, yeah. Yep.
So if you go to the doctor, you've got a heart condition, he says, your cholesterol's too high, chuck you on statins. Over your remaining period of your life, you're going to increase your expectancy by 5 days.
With all those side effects.
With all the side effects. So you've got nausea, muscle pain's a big one, headaches, digestive issues, constipation, diarrhea, sleep problems. Yep. So again, we're talking about some lifestyle issues that you really, really need as you're getting older, and for your mental health. Yep. Sleep problems and low blood platelet counts has also been attributed to statins. Yep. And the cost of it, $25 to $30. I don't know how much lasts you, a month maybe. You're spending all this money on this drug that's having all these other side effects and affecting your health. I just don't get it. I just really, really don't get it.
And to add to, I had all the same stuff that you had. Earlier, I think it was you that mentioned the link between like low cholesterol and dementia.
Yeah.
So there was one study that looked at people who had dementia who were taking statins. And so all these people had dementia and were taking statins.
So statins to reduce your cholesterol even further.
So they took them off the statins for 6 weeks.
Oh, right.
All of these dementia people, their cognition increased.
Wow.
Quite a bit. Then they put them back on statins. All of their cognition went back down again.
Wow.
So
sad. It was a short trial, so that's only.
Can I play another video, right? It's about a minute. It goes for a minute.
Yeah.
But we'll explain. It's a doctor. His name is Dr. Joel Wallach. And he will explain exactly the reason what you just said there, Smithy.
Yeah.
He will explain the reason why. All right. So I'll play this video. It's pretty cool. I sent it to my mum.
Now, how they grow chickens without skin, I don't know, but they figured that one out. You're better off throwing away the chicken and eating the skin. Then, if you can't get your blood cholesterol below 200, normal, remember, it's 220, 270.
Jeez, what's going on there?
Chicken skin.
It's a minute.
This with a word from our sponsors.
It's a minute 13. Oh, here we go. Sorry. No, lost it. Wait, here it comes. Dr. Joel Wallach.
Alzheimer's disease did not occur 40 years ago, even by another name. Now it's the number 4 killer of adults in the United States over the age of 65. Now what is Alzheimer's disease? Well, it's the going away of the myelin, the insulation material in the brain, the white matter of the brain, which makes up 75% of the brain weight. When the myelin goes away and you don't have enough raw materials to replace it, these naked nerve fibers get all tangled up. You've all heard of the nerve tangles, right? In the myelin. They short circuit and your memory doesn't work. That's what Alzheimer's is. Well, this myelin in the brain that makes up 75% of your brain weight is 100% cholesterol. So you go on a cholesterol restricted diet, you're eating egg beaters instead of eggs, you're eating egg white omelets, you're eating margarine and canola oil instead of cream and butter and lard and eggs, and you're eating tofu instead of red meat, you're eating boneless, skinless chicken breasts. Now how they grow chickens without skin, I don't know, but they figured that one out. You're better off throwing away the chicken and eating the skin. Then if you can't get your blood cholesterol below 200, normal, remember, is 220, 270. If you can't get your blood cholesterol below 200, They give you cholesterol-lowering drugs. And then you can't remember who you are because you have Alzheimer's disease. Now, because you can't rebuild the myelin in the brain.
That was a quick minute.
That guy talked very
He
fast.
was, I think he might have had a couple of cafe lattes that day.
He had some of those nootropics. He might have had some nicotine.
He might have had some nicotine and some caffeine that day.
Maybe some
Might have had some modafinil as well.
amphetamine.
But how's the message there?
Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah, spot on.
Well, I'll add to that because I've also got some further stats. People who are taking statin drugs, their rate of amyotrophic lateral sclerosis, Lou Gehrig's disease, ALS, is 107 times more likely. Not 107%, 107 times.
Wow.
So that's over 100,000% higher on statins.
What's that disease?
So the common name is Lou Gehrig's disease, or
Right.
ALS, amyotrophic lateral sclerosis.
And what does that do?
It's something to do with the
Sclerosis. Something like that. Yeah.
and motor neurone disease,
Yeah.
which you guys have heard of,
Yeah.
57 times more likely. So over 50,000%
Wow.
more likely. These are in the product disclosure packaging statements that you get with, you get your to your drugs, and there'll be like a little pamphlet that you fold
Yeah.
out.
Yeah.
Those stats are in certain brands of statin.
Wow.
Yep, in the small print somewhere. So, yeah, I mean, not for me.
No.
Not for me.
And pretty hard to find some mainstream information on this because if you just chuck in, Google, it's not going to give you anything really that's going to make you think I shouldn't go on statins.
You're going to go to Healthline, WebMD,
Mayo
fucking
Clinic,
Mayo Clinic, Wikipedia,
Cleveland Clinic. Yeah.
Yeah.
and you get muddled, don't you?
Yeah.
Like for every study you find that says it's bad, there's another one that says it's neutral, another one says it's good, and it's like, oh, fuck, I don't know.
Yeah.
Just listen to my doctor.
It's a multi-million-dollar industry.
Listen to
Isn't
Dana White.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Listen to Dana.
Yeah.
I think we should finish on
End
that.
on that.
Yeah.
What,
Should we finish on Dana again?
what would Dana do?
Oh, Dana too. WWDD.
D.
Like the medical industry needs to start having more people sort of revolt against their
Yeah.
just one-sided view of just everything is fixed with a pill.
Mate, I reckon
And
that's
start going.
Smithy, I reckon
turning.
that's happening. I
Definitely
reckon
turning, I
that's
agree.
happening, mate.
Yep.
I think trust in doctors has declined massively in
Yeah.
the last 5 or 10 years, and people
Definitely.
are starting to ask more questions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And I hope more people are starting to educate themselves a little bit. So when you have those awkward conversations in the doctor's surgery, you go, well, what about this? And they go,
And I know before you were saying, doctors, I don't think they want to do the wrong thing.
no, they don't. No.
They don't. But then again, do they have an obligation to look into the latest research and not just be told by the AMA or whoever it is, this is how it is. They don't, and the whole system's broken, right? Because they don't have that opportunity. They don't have a day off where they can just do research. They have 1 million patients a day. You've got
Yep.
7 minutes. Get in, get out, fix that guy.
Well, the system's broken from the start when they go to
Absolutely, yeah.
university. So medical universities are funded by pharmaceutical companies
Yeah.
who...
They don't do any nutrition training. They don't.
I think they do about 4 hours over their 6 years.
Oh yeah,
4 hours.
solid. Also low fat. Eat your canola.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Get your canola
And I read
oil.
somewhere where
Cocoa Pops.
their tutorial, whatever they learn on vaccines, is probably like half a day or something.
Yeah, I've that. Yeah.
They learn fuck all about
Yeah.
vaccines.
Yeah.
So I'm sure if you went to a doctor and asked, so doc, what's the side effect of this statins or this vaccine or whatever, he probably couldn't tell you.
Or insert any drug.
He'd probably Google it.
Oxycontin
No,
or
it's okay. The side effects are minimal. Maybe
Oh,
a bit of nausea.
Oh,
Might
you
get a bit
might
of
get a
muscle
little,
pain.
little headache. You might have a little bit of constipation.
we've got another pill for that.
Yeah.
That muscle pain, we'll get rid of that straight away. Get you some oxys, you'll be up
I
and
think
about.
that's what happened to Dana White. He just kept getting pills. And
Yeah.
It's a fucking rabbit hole. Like, you go on one, and then that has a side effect, which requires another one, and so on, and around the merry-go-round we go. And before you know it, you're 60 years old, you're taking 12 medications every
That's the
day. There's
industry,
so
man.
many, you've got one of those fucking Webster pack things from the pharmacist because you can't even keep track of what you're putting down your gullet.
Yeah.
And no one knows the interactions. What does this
Yeah.
one do with that one? Oh,
who knows?
it's crazy.
This we'll finish off on this, but this doctor.
I thought we'd fixed it before. Now we're back around and not
Yeah,
fixing it.
this doctor, Gary Brecker, on the Rogan podcast, had a great quote, and because they were talking about how all these illnesses and things that happen to us are a result of old age. And he said, old age is the persistent pursuit of comfort. And I found that
That's pretty deep.
such a great line, because so many things that we can avoid in our health, like negative things, can be avoided if we put our body under good duress. Like your cold water immersion, like your sauna,
Exercise.
like hard
Being a
exercise,
little bit hungry sometimes.
going fasting.
He did talk
Yes.
about that.
Yep.
He did say, Brecker did say, we're never ever not hungry.
No,
Yeah.
we're
So
constantly
we
overfed.
can't
Yeah,
we can't have the pang of hunger. You're like, oh, I've got to get
Yeah.
eat now. So well,
Undernourished and overfed.
yeah, that's not what would have happened ancestrally.
No.
You would have been hungry for days, and that's why fasting works so well. Because
yeah.
anyway, cut you off again.
No, great saying.
Yeah,
Getting old is the persistent pursuit of comfort.
that sounds like
Let's
the
eat
modern
more.
world.
Let's not exercise. Let's stay warm. Let's not expose ourselves to risk
Yeah.
or harm.
Can't
or-
get warm.
You're old, be careful.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you need a chair?
Yeah,
Can I get you a wheelchair?
yeah. I don't go out in the sun, Grandma. You might get
Oh, you could
burnt.
get a skin cancer.
Huh? Yeah.
Yeah.
The one that always made me laugh was, when your parents would say, "Don't go out in the cold, you get cold.
Oh,
You
yeah.
get a cold.
Yeah.
Don't go out in the rain, you'll get a cold."
Yeah.
What kind of horse shit is that?
Yeah. You should be
Makes-
letting your kids go out in the
makes
rain
no
and play in the
sense.
mud.
Want to go out
Get
there
some
and get cold.
dirt
Oh, yeah.
under their fingernails,
Yeah.
get some germs.
Kids love playing in the rain.
We've
Try and
become
stop
so risk averse.
Don't touch
Yeah.
that animal, it's dirty.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
If you look at the studies, kids that play with animals got much less allergies, much more healthy.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, but animals are dirty.
Yeah, we have
Yeah,
fixed the
it's
world
not
here
nice
today.
about it.
We are solving all the problems of the world.
Every single time, it comes back to just and the way our ancestors would have done it and natural living.
Totally agree, mate.
Just- I think, CJ, you spoke about one of these days we should talk about minimalism, which we should.
Absolutely, yeah.
And that goes across to the way you eat, the way you live your life, your healthcare, everything. Just be minimalist and just
Yeah.
choose very little and have
Yeah.
a good input.
Or stoicism,
Stoicism. all that
along
stuff
those
like that.
lines.
Mm.
Maybe we'll talk about that next.
So when I think of minimalism, I always think of those people living in those little tiny houses.
Yeah.
You know, the
Tiny
one
house.
bedroom house with the toilet, the kitchen,
Yeah.
the loft little thing you can
Yeah.
carry it around on a trailer.
Tiny house.
Let's definitely talk about that, because that's the perception. Let's debunk that.
Yeah. Let's chat about that. I'd be
Yeah.
interested in delving into that a bit further.
Yeah,
But today's been good. I enjoyed that.
very good.
Yeah,
Apologies
interesting
for
topic.
nerding out in the middle.
No, man, that
Had
was-
a nerd stroke.
Good points, man. Good
I
points.
liked it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hopefully the listeners did too.
Mm.
Yeah, I hope I didn't lose too many people. But
Where can they contact us, CJ? All our listeners.
modernancestralman@gmail.com.
If they got any tips or would like us to talk about a topic.
Yeah, that'd be great.
yeah, flick us through some random ones. I'll speak about random.
Yeah,
Yeah.
had a couple of questions.
Mm.
Maybe we'll do an AMA. Ask me.
Have we had a couple of questions?
Yeah, about coffee and
Yeah, right.
cold plunging and
Oh, yeah.
No.
vitamin D.
Yeah.
Probably could follow up on a few of those.
So now we've had a few questions from YouTube, like what the fuck are you guys talking about? You've now been cancelled.
Oh, well.
Seed oils, what do you...
Fuck 'em.
Yeah.
Forget
Anyway,
about it.
let's finish on that. Fuck 'em.
Air guitar.